So the stain went on pretty easy. No problems at all. Just had to make sure that I didn't spill anything on the workbench and have it seep underneath. My top coat of choice is lacquer. This is what I'm working with, but I've used a whole bunch of different types of lacquer. Using lacquer is the best way to go. Unless someone can convince me otherwise down in the comments. Provide me with a link to a video, to a website, to a product that matches lacquer. Here are the requirements. It has to be very forgiving. It is so hard to screw spraying lacquer up. It's just impossible. You just overlap your spray pattern and it comes out perfect, like a factory finish from a piece of furniture. It looks amazing. Now it has to dry in 5 minutes. Whoa! I know what you're thinking. That's impossible. I want to be sanding in 10 minutes from the time that I let go of the trigger. Yes, that's how I do it. So I can have 3 coats on this in 45 minutes. Another major benefit of it drying so fast is nothing sticks to it. So you spray it and within 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes if it's cold, I control the temperature with this electric heater over here. Dust doesn't stick to it. Something can land on it. If a bug lands on it, it just passes out from the fumes, but it's not stuck to the surface. It dries that fast. Dust doesn't stick to it. It's easy to mix. I eyeball it. I used to have a fancy metering. I don't even know where they are. They're probably in the other part of the workshop. You count the flow. So you pour your mixture into this cup with a hole in the bottom of it, and you count how many seconds until that specific measured amount drains out. That's how you know the viscosity of it. Don't have to do that with lacquer. You just eyeball it. Basically what you do is you use your stir stick, you stir it up, and you raise it up, and you see how fast and how thin or thick it is when it runs off the stick. I'll show you how I mix it up on my next batch. But I got started last night. I've already done one panel. It's out in the other room. I have my air compressor set at 40 psi. This is an HVLP spray gun. I have 3 of them. One is for white, one is for darker colors, and one is for clear. It's a DeVilbiss FLG4. There were some shortages during the pandemic, but they might be back in stock. I'll put a link down in the description below. I've had really, really good success getting factory finishes, high-end, pro-grade as you can get with these spray guns and using lacquer. Tinted lacquer too. I've got all sorts of different colors lacquers around here. All right, well with that said, I'm going to show you how I spray it. Now, first, I got to tack it off. This is just a tack cloth from Lowe's or Home Depot. I can't remember which one it was. They come in little bags like this. They say tack cloth on there. Don't go asking for a tack cloth though. They'll look at you like a deer in the headlights. Hats, t-shirts, and sweatshirts are in stock. They ship within 24 hours. Check out the links in the description below the video. Hi. Just look it up on their website and it'll tell you where they're located in the store. Can't rely on anybody to know where anything is or know what anything does anymore. So after I put the stain on, it didn't raise the grain that much. It's pretty smooth. Now, after the first coat of lacquer, I'll sand. I won't get into the color coat at all. Nothing of color will get sanded away. You know, on these cheaper plywoods, you got to be real careful on the edge or else you'll snag it with your rag. So I've been kind of wiping across like this to avoid any snaggle tooths. I discovered this for spraying several years ago, and I use it for everything now. But it covers up your eyes, your nose, your mouth. Real easy to put on. Even works with a mustache. Cinch it down. We're ready to go scuba diving. So I got the camera down low, and what I want you to look at is the sheen as I work my way down. I'm going to be spraying like this with like 1/4 overlaps. So I'll spray, move over a little bit, go up, move over a little bit, come back, and work my way all the way down. Pretty simple. You always want to maintain the wet edge Don't be taking phone calls or anything in the middle of this. So we're going to get up close here. When I come back, this is going to look like a completely different board. It's going to be completely flat and there will be no sheen to it. This is a satin finish. That's why it's so forgiving. Just spray it on there. You control the temperature right. It's about 63 degrees in here. So I'm going to let this sit. This is all going to wet out, completely level off. And then I may come kick the heater on for 3 to 5 minutes before I sand. It's been about 10 minutes. Got sidetracked. I'm smoking some baby back ribs. So all that sheen is gone. Remember the last time I went up here, you could totally see the sheen, the shine of the lights. No, that's the satin for you. And it's dry. I'm going to go over this with some 220 sandpaper. Smooth out any bumps that, got caused from the grain being raised. This is the only sand that I'll do, because you don't have to sand between coats with lacquer. Didn't hit the record button. Maybe I did. But this is a brand new tack cloth. I've already sanded with 220. I'm not sure at what point the camera cut off, but just go over it and tack off all the dust from sanding. The reason you need to sand after the first coat of lacquer is it does raise the grain. Even though it has been stained, that stain didn't raise the grain like lacquer does. So that's the only time I'm going to sand for the rest of this board. Same as last time. I'm going to do 2 passes and then start my 1/3 to 1/4 overlaps. I'm getting ready to mix up another batch of lacquer. You can never spray anything really right out of the can, whether it's paint, lacquer, polyurethane. Everything's got to be thinned down to get atomized and go down as a smooth coat. These are things I'm going to use. I'll put a link down in the description for where I get these measuring cups. There's a little bit left in there from the last batch. You're going to need a filter. You can get these anywhere. Get them online. Home Depot, Lowe's, Harbor Freight. I'll start out with a little bit of lacquer thinner. And I'm just kind of eyeballing the ratio. I'd say it's going to be 85 to 90% lacquer. A little bit in the bottom to get us started. Got a Gatorade bottle as a scooper. And it doesn't really matter if it gets dirty. Of course, you try not to get it too dirty. But it's going to get filtered, so you don't have to get too crazy. Get this stirred up. All the good stuff's down at the bottom. I'm running low, but I'll have enough to finish this project. And then I got to make another trip across the state lines to get some more. Gonna smuggle the lacquer in. You no longer have nice things. As I fall over dead. Alright, probably have to cut that part out. Keep it clean, handy. Okay, just gonna get a scoop and pour it in here. Of course, I'm not in the best position to do this. I like to keep a clean work area. I don't want drips or anything. Crack myself up sometimes, you know? I'll probably do 3 scoops. Probably could just pour it in at this point in time, since there's not much left in the can. Yeah, we'll do 3 big scoops. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 layers to spray. We're gonna go a little heavy so I don't have to do this again. So I mostly do this by eye now. Just give it a good mix so that the lacquer thinner and the lacquer is all mixed up. I already know this is too thick, but I wanted to show you what I mean by too thick. You can see how thick the dribbles are and how long it takes all that lacquer to run off the stick. And it is something you just learn by eye, but that's just too thick to spray right now. So I'm going to add maybe a 1/4 inch more. That would be 2 ounces more of lacquer thinner. Check it again. Still a little on the thick side. Just a hair more. Keep in mind, this is mostly lacquer. So we're at about 95% lacquer, 5% lacquer thinner. You can always add more. You can't take it out unless you add more lacquer in there, and I don't have much room. That's just about right. It runs off the stick real fast. So these mixing cups come with lids. So I can just put this right on while I'm using it. And once I'm done with the project, I dump all this back in the can. It goes right back in, even thinned down. And next time, I won't have to use as much lacquer. Then you'll eventually get to a point where you don't use any lacquer thinner. That's what I meant to say. You don't have to use as much lacquer thinner. Use the filter again. I don't fill it all the way up. I go about halfway, maybe a hair more. I braid about halfway. And it's good to go. Best practice would have been me wearing this mask the entire time. Because you still get fumes out of the can of both lacquer thinner and lacquer. Here's your PSA for the day. Don't do this if you're pregnant. Beautiful coat. You'll notice that there's not much overspray. That's the type of spray gun that is. High volume, low pressure. So it puts out a higher volume of lacquer at a low pressure. It atomizes it great. There are adjustments on it, and I just have it dialed in for lacquer. And set it and forget it is what it's been like. So right here, here's a... Let me see if I can find it. Right here is an example of, I guess you'd call that a mistake. I'm going to use it as an example of how forgiving this is. So I must did something goofy here where I didn't get a full pass. I'm not worried about that at all. I'll show you what this area looks like once this dries. This all flattens out and dries within 10 minutes. I'll leave this room about 60 degrees, so after 3 or 4 minutes it'll no longer like accept dust. And then I'll kick the heater on just to kind of give it a fast dry, and we'll look at this one spot right there. I don't know how that's going to show up on camera, but you can see it's a little goofed up, but again, this stuff is so forgiving that don't even have to worry about it. So another thing, this mask with these pods, even with the mustache, I can't smell anything. There's no even hint of lacquer getting into my nose, and I'm very happy about that. On those other circular ones, I was starting to smell it. I was getting out real quick. I wasn't hanging out here talking to you guys, but I can with these ones on, and very happy that these are working out. I'll see you in a little bit. It is all dried, ready to sand. But you can see how all the shine is gone. And this area right in here, you can't see any difference. But it's ready for sand, and then 2 more coats. It was getting a little long, so I kind of cut it short. It's all about lacquer. And the next video is going to be about these filter pods. You can use them in your full face shield, or you can use them, hey, you stay there, don't be messing around up here too much. Where's it? Oh. Or you can use them in your more traditional mask that doesn't protect your eyes. Look for that video in the next day or so. Polly, you ready to go inside? It's freezing out here. Good girl.